Hello, Kris here, Green Sabre, Doom Telly, episode 50. The big 50, half a century of episodes. Who'd have thunk that we got to this, that we'd have got to this stage, eh? We probably should have got to this stage sooner, actually, if I'd been on it for most weeks. But I've had a few weeks recently where I've been unable to record. So, anyway, we're here now, episode 50. So, I'm not doing anything spectacular for it. It's just a kind of run of the mill. In fact, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do right up until about an hour ago. But quick update, because Green Sabre have gigged, of course, in the since the last video. So I'll do a quick gig update on that one, and then I'm going to do the Metal Mickey 1, 2, 3 challenge, which some of you have done. I don't know if the deadline's passed. If it has, I'm fucking doing it anyway. So, but yeah, I fancied having a go at that, so I thought, right, this week will do. So yeah, so let's do it. So updates. We played Saturday just gone, Saturday 25th of November that is. We played the Greyston Unity in Halifax as support to the awesome Godthrim. It was a great night. I get the impression that it's the first time that the Greyston Unity's put on kind of like a metal night as such in any way, shape or form, but it was a cracking little venue actually. Yeah, like a sort of basement venue, the main bar's upstairs with all your craft ales and all that stuff. So, but yeah, like a basement venue, and it was packed out in there. It was really good. So yeah, a cracking turnout, decent, if somewhat cosy stage, I should say. But yeah, we had a great night, cracking. 40-minute set, so we did like the usual fare. And yeah, it all went swimmingly. And Godthrim were immense. It was Ace supporting them, and we were the only support, as it turned out that night. So yeah, quite the privilege to play with them. So yeah, really enjoyed that. Godthrim were Ace, and yeah, they're all they're all Ace. Great bunch of Godthrim. So yeah, when you get a chance to see them, do so. Fantastic. But yeah, went swimmingly well. That is as well the last gig of, well, barring a miracle, unless maybe Paradise Lost and My Dying Bride ask us to support them at St George's Hall in Bradford on the 14th of December, which is unlikely. Yeah, I appreciate. Unless that happens, yeah, then no, there's no more gigs planned for 2023. So that was our last outing, and it's been quite the year 2023. I don't know. I'm going to be doing a look back, a reflective over 2023 from a Green Sabre perspective. And I don't, maybe that might be the next video, to be fair. I don't know. Or the one after that. It'll be before the end of the year anyway. That was the year that was. But yeah, I mean, I won't go into too much detail, but it's been, suffice to say, it's been quite the year for us in Green Sabre. It's been an absolute cracker. So, but anyway, I'll go into that in the end of year video that I do for us. So, yeah, very, very quick update. Gig was ace, and a great way to finish 2023 from our perspective. Yeah, and long may, looking forward to 2024. Should be another cracker, hopefully. So, let's get to the nitty-gritty of this video. And yeah, the Metal Mickey's been running like a little, not competition as such, like a little challenge, I've called the 1, 2, 3 challenge. Now, the original Metal Mickey explaining what the process and concept of this video is. So I'll link to that down below. But yeah, basically a 1, 2, 3. The idea is that you have to name a band whose first album is your favourite album of theirs, followed by a band whose second album is your favourite album of theirs, then third album that's your favourite of theirs, fourth, yeah, and so on and so forth. And the challenge is to see how far you get with it. I thought, this is a great idea. And obviously, the first, second, third, and fourth albums, there'll be quite a lot of choice to go on. Certainly the first 3, there were loads that I could have picked, so I had to be quite selective with those ones, and deliberately went for some picks. Once you get into like 5th album, 6th album, 7th album, that is, and no cheating, is your favourite record of theirs, bar none of the rest, it gets really challenging then. So you limit, obviously, bands only have a fairly finite life a lot of the time. There's only the great and the good, or the overrated and overpopular, that end up going that far, so your field gets a lot narrower the further up that you go. So yeah, it's quite hard to, I noticed a few got stuck around the 8 mark, and yeah, I nearly got stuck at the 8 mark, and then I got to 9 and thought, is that a cheat? No, it's not a cheat, because I love them. And then I watched Mark G with a C, shout out Mark. I watched his video, and he definitely got to 10. Did he get further than that? I can't remember. But his 10th choice, no, sorry, he got further, yeah, it was his 11th choice. Anyway, it reminded me of, because I love Frank Zappa, I love The Mother's an Invention, and he reminded me of the separation of the two. And then that, I was like, so I ended up getting a 10. So, spoiler alert, I got up to number 10 with this. But anyway, enough of my waffle, let's get on with it. So, the 1, 2, 3 challenge. Number 1, and a band whose first album is my very, very favourite thing that they've ever done. I could think of a few, like I say, but it was a no-brainer, and I've shown this so many times. But here it is, yet again. Cathedral's Forest of Equilibrium. My favourite record of all time. I mean, there's lots that are very, very close, but every year every year I go through a period of listening to this, and it's just since I've started again, like over the last week or two, I've been re-listening to this. I don't know whether it was influenced by me compiling for this video, but I absolutely adore this record. Cathedral's debut album, Forest of Equilibrium. Like I say, one of my favourite albums ever, if not my favourite album ever, but also comfortably my favourite of their entire back catalogue. Ethereal Mirror's great, Soul Sacrifice and the Static Magic EPs are great. The demo, In Memoriam, is great. After that, they nosedive for me, though, as a band. I feel like they've done nothing great since the Static Magic EP. Personally. I mean, they've done some decent stuff, but nothing along those levels. So, yeah, comfortably my favourite debut album, my favourite first record by a band. Cathedral and Forest of Equilibrium. Okay, my favourite second album by a band. And this one, I could have picked loads. I could have picked Gothic by Paradise Lost. I could have picked Ride the Lightning by Metallica. I could have picked various others. Yeah, there were lots for second album that I could have picked. But I went with this one because, again, it's something that I've been diving back into recently. My Dying Bride's Turn Loose the Swans. Their second full-length studio album, and fairly comfortably my favourite Bride record. I love almost all of it. I even love 2 or 3 songs on 34.788% complete. It's my least favourite of their back catalogue, but yeah, I love all their stuff. I think they're a phenomenal band. But this is still, hands down, my favourite record of theirs. The second album, Turn Loose the Swans. It's just breathtaking. And for me as well, it was because I was into them when it came out. It was such a step away. It was so progressive compared to a lot of other doom that was happening at the time. Not only did they kind of do away with all the old death metal roots that you heard on As the Flower Withers and on the EPs and so on, leading up to that. Almost all that kind of straight up death metal that crept into As the Flower Withers and so on was gone. It was ultra slow. It was ultra doomy. It was ultra heavy. But crucially, Aaron was the first to really have a go at doing the straight kind of brooding vocal. Don't get me wrong, other doom bands have been doing straight vocal for ages. Your more classic epic doom bands like your Candlemasses and Solitude Eternices and Trouble and stuff like that. I'd already done the cleaner approach in a far more grandiose sense, you have to say. But Aaron bringing that clean vocal into it, and it really worked. It was so effective, and right from the get-go, I fucking loved this record when it came out. They were just brilliant. So yeah, my second choice, and a band whose second album is comfortably my favourite, I had to pick My Dying Bride's Turn Loose the Swans. Okay, controversy abounds, but I've had a discussion with my mate Lee, shout out Lee, and we both agree that this is the best one, so you'll just have to agree with us. But my band whose third album is my favourite in their back catalogue is this. Shock horror, I can see some of you saying, not leprosy, liar. Not human, liar. Not symbolic, liar. No, I've said this before as well, and this is still my favourite Death record. Do you know why? Because it was the current record when I got into them. And James Murphy's soloing on it. I love James Murphy's solos. I've said that before. There he is, Mr. James Murphy there, of Obituary, Disincarnate fame, and so on and so forth. Testament fame for a bit as well. What I love about this album is it links Scream Bloody Gore and Leprosy to the Human era. This is the link. This is where it gets a lot more technical. There's a lot more technical chops on it, but it maintains its death metal heaviness and its death metal sensibilities. And like I say, and the solos are just... Human is a technical masterpiece. It's an absolutely outstanding record. But I don't think Paul Masvidal's solos are as good as James Murphy's on here. Leprosy is a death metal masterclass and one of the greatest straight up death metal records of all time. But if I hear Rick Ross's whammy shenanigans one more time, just that, that's all he did on every song. And it doesn't ruin the album, but it detracts from what could be it makes a 10 out of 10, a 9.5 for me in Leprosy, because Rick Ross's solos are fucking dreadful. It works with the record, don't get me wrong, it works with the songs. But this is everything come together. It's got the old death metal sensibilities, the technical chops, and some incredible soloing from James Murphy. And, of course, Chuck Schuldiner. And it's my favourite death record. So, yeah. So my number 3 is Death's third album, Spiritual Healing. And if you disagree, I don't care. So let's get on to number 4. And here it is. I've not made any notes, so I'm hoping that these are in the right order. Otherwise, I'm going to look like a right dickhead. But anyway. So, my number 4 and my favourite album of this band's studio back catalogue. It's his 1990s self-titled masterpiece by Chicago's very own doom connoisseurs, Trouble. This is such a good album. It's so good. I mean, don't get me wrong, Psalm 9's fabulous. The Skull's really, really good. Run to the Light, one of their weaker ones if I did a Trouble ranking, which I might do at some point. But anyway, watch the space. Sorry, a lot of glare there. Let's do that. There we go. But this Manic Frustration is right up there and a very close second to me. Personally, because that's when I got into Trouble, around that era. But this is my favourite. What a record. I mean, there are not enough superlatives for this record. But there's so many great songs on here. This is a repress. It's not the original. Jesus Christ. I'm not made of money, people. Christ. My mate Lee. Shout out Lee again. I'm sure he's got about 8,000 copies of this on vinyl. But something like that. But yeah. Their 4th album and my very, very favourite of theirs. So yeah, Trouble coming in at my number 4. My number 5. And I went sort of off kilter because I could have made a few choices. But then it got me thinking, I thought, no, this is comfortably my favourite of this band as well. And I was amazed that it was the 5th album, actually. But when you go back and you go on Wikipedia, this is the 5th studio album. So, if you don't know what that is, it's Bongripper, and it is their 5th studio album, Satan Worshipping Doom. Oh, I've got it the wrong way around. That's the back cover. There you go. Yeah, so that's the one. Fancy splattery vinyl, but we're not here to talk about fancy splattery vinyls and stuff. We're here to talk about how great this record is. I love Bongripper. I think they're ace. They're an acquired taste. They're very much kind of... They do what they do, and I think you either like it or you don't like it. And I love it. It's just heavy, sludgy magnificence. Instrumental for almost the entire... Yeah, is there any songs of theirs that have vocal on them? There might be. On Hippie Killer, or what was the one? Anyway, Great Barrier Reefer, is it, or whatever. But, yeah. This is hands down their best record for me. There's so many crushing riffs on it, and it's just nod your head territory for the hour plus or whatever it is that it goes on for. 4 songs, majestically heavy, fucking stonery, doomy brilliance. Just magnificent, grinding, crushing album. And yeah, their 5th studio album and my favourite by Bongripper, Satan Worshipping Doom. Okay, here's where it started getting a bit more difficult. But this one, it's very, very close. There are about 2 or 3 albums by this band that are mighty close. But I still think this just edges it as my favourite by theirs. Now, there'll be some of you that fucking dislike this band anyway. And again, I'm not really arsed. But I love them. Deftones. And this was their 6th studio album, Diamond Eyes. And I just think, I think it's a masterpiece, personally. It's got a lot of that kind of shoegazy thing that you got with Chino Moreno, the vocalist, he'd done his side project, the Team Sleep stuff at this point. And yeah, it all started... It has a real ethereal sort of... I love his voice, that sort of ambient nature of his voice that he started doing more and more from like Around the Fur onwards and so on. And he does it magnificently in here, but there's also some ludicrously, crushingly heavy riffs from Stephen Carpenter, or is it Stephen Carpenter, the guitarist. He's a bit of a flat earther now, I believe, but too much dope, guys. That's what happens. Tinfoil hats and whatnot. But, yeah, besides all that, this is a magnificent record. It's great from start to finish. There's so many good tracks on it. The opening, the title track, Diamond Eyes, into Royal Command Control. You've seen The Butcher. Wasn't my favourite off of here, but it's different. It's just, and that riff that drives the way through it. Beauty School, Prince, one of my favourites on here. Rocket Skates is on here. Sex Tape, Risk, 976 Evil, ends on This Place Is Death. An absolute cracker. 6th studio album by Deftones, and my favourite Deftones album. It's the one that I go to the most. Weirdly, I like the later stuff. I go to that a lot. I go to Saturday Night Wrist a lot. I think that's a magnificent record that got battered, and I had no reason. I don't know why it got panned by the critics, because I think it's great. White Pony, of course, that's a classic. But I do go to Diamond Eyes more often than I do White Pony. So there. So my 6th favourite by Deftones. My band whose 7th album is my favourite of theirs, and I've forgotten how many albums this band had done as well. Yob. And their 7th studio album, Clearing the Path to Ascend. They've done so many great records of Yob. They're fucking fantastic. And if you don't know about them, you have to check them out. And I'd say here's a good starting point. It is so crushingly heavy at places. It's so melodic in places. It's so melancholy in places. It ticks all the boxes. They're one of the greatest modern doom bands out there for me, are Yob. They just have, there's a kind of stoneriness vibe to some of the riffage, like a kind of American doom vibe to it. Do you know what I mean? A lot of American doom bands have that stonery feel to them. But do it so, and yeah, I'm glad that this came in at 7th, because I was really struggling for a kind of 7th album, barring I nearly picked 7th Son, Iron Maiden, but in reality, Killers is my favourite Maiden record. And then maybe even Somewhere in Time after that, so that could have been my number 6, but I've already done a ranking and said that Killers was my favourite. So anyway, yeah, started looking at, and then like, oh, hang on, how far in is, and yes, 7th studio album. Absolute masterpiece, and my 2 favourite Yob tracks of all time are on this. They bookend the album. You've got In Our Blood that opens it, and Marrow that closes it. Oh, masterpiece. Yeah, my number 7, and the band whose 7th album is my favourite, Yob, Clearing the Path to Ascend. The band whose 8th album is my favourite in their back catalogue, and this is a band that somewhat confused me for a few years, and a lot of it, I will be honest, for a lot of the time I remember thinking, I'm not convinced that they're as great as a lot of people think they are. They kind of went under my radar, and I wasn't overly, it was like, it's alright, but no more than alright. But they brought out an album this year, and it's in my top 10 of albums of the year, most comfortable. In fact, is it in my top 5 or is it 6 or 7? Anyway, wherever it is currently. But it is comfortably my favourite album by this band. It is Church of Misery, and they're Born Under a Mad Sign album that came out this year. I've got the Crash Records exclusive yellow vinyl as well. Really nice yellow. It's the Crash yellow, like that. Absolutely magnificent album. They've gone back to the original vocalist, I believe, on this record, and everything clicks. It's just fabulous. And yeah, I cannot honestly think of another Church of Misery that has had as big an effect on me as this one. I just think they are absolutely firing on all cylinders on this record. Magnificent, magnificent stuff. So yeah, my 8th, number 8, my favourite album that came at the 8th studio album by Church of Misery. Now, here's where I felt like I was reaching, but when I saw Mark G with the Seas video, I realised, no, I'm not. I really like these bands. So they're an addition to the catalogue. And this one as well. Once you get to this realm, you've got to properly check it. So I've been on like the Wikipedia bloody discographies of these bands and double checked it, and this one coming is my favourite by this band, if I was pushed, and also their 9th studio album. So my number 9, Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. I love it. It's my favourite Floyd album. Animals is a close second. Dark Side of the Moon is a close third. I just think it's a masterpiece. It's brilliant. The opening 13 or 14 minutes, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, into Welcome to the Machine, Have a Cigar, Wish You Were Here, the reprise of Shine On You Crazy Diamond. It is absolutely brilliant. And as we've already hit the 20-minute mark, I won't go into too much detail, but it's my favourite record by this band. And it's their 9th studio album, conveniently. So yeah, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. My last entry, my 10th entry to this competition, challenge. And thanks to Mark G with a C, as I alluded to earlier, for mentioning the separation between Frank Zappa records and Mothers of Invention records. Because it gave me a number 10. I thought I was finished at 9, to be quite honest with you. Because there were a lot of bands that I could think of with 10 albums, but in all honesty, were not my favourite album by those bands. Frank Zappa, his 10th album, is not my favourite of his. However, the Mothers of Invention, it turns out, is my favourite of his. So, yeah, and that is why... Me again, sorry for the minor interruption, I had a fucking delivery at the front door. So, yes. Sorry, had to break off there. Where was I? Yeah, my number 10, the last in the in this list. And yeah, like I say, Mark G with a C, thank you for mentioning the Mothers of Invention, because I went through their discography and realised their number 10 album is my favourite album by Frank Zappa's Mothers of Invention part of his career. And it's this one. One Size Fits All. This is just fabulous. It's a great, great record. Inca Roads that opens it is just fantastic. I mean, you've got to be into this kind of thing, but it's fucking great. Just, yeah, like the vocal, soaring vocal on it and all that. And yeah, just brilliant. There's other great tracks on it as well. Like I say, Inca Roads opens it. Sofa Number 1. Beautiful, majestic piece. Pajama People, Florentine Pogan, San Bernardino, Andy, and Sofa Number 2. Just brilliant. And it is, yeah, I go through, there were lots that the Mothers of Invention did that were really good, like In It For The Money's a cracking record, Grand Wazoo's another cracking record of theirs. But this is my favourite, and it's the 10th one, so it really conveniently sat at the end of my thing. I could not go any further. I couldn't think of anyone whose 11th album is my favourite of theirs. In fact, I couldn't think of many bands that had an 11th album that really, is in the realms of greatness. But, yeah, that's it. So, that's the end of my challenge. So I got up to number 10. I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, because like I say, I got stuck around the 7 or 8 mark and wasn't sure I was going to be able to get past that. And then thought outside the box slightly. And here we are. So, yeah, thank you for watching. There'll be a further update next week. Like I say, now that we are... I mean, I don't want to tempt fate, because if I do the end of year, how 2023's been for Green Sabre, something fucking enormous will probably happen in like we'll get signed to fucking Sony Records or something stupid, and go on a world tour with the Beatles or whatnot. Something fucking magnificent will happen, no doubt, but it's unlikely. And like I say, we've no more gigs in the pipeline now for 2023, so that's us. We're battening down the hatch. Really, we need to batten down the hatches because we're recording in January, so we need to get that absolutely shipshape for the studio. So really, all we've got is a few rehearsals planned, and that'll see out 2023. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks so much for my new bit of a burst of subscribers. We're at 158, I think, currently. So yeah, I've had a bit of a nice rise in subscribers. But like and subscribe if you haven't already. All useful. Yeah. And thanks for putting up with me. I'll see you this time next week for episode 51. But until then, have a lovely week, people. And don't get too cold. It's a bit wintry out there. See you later.